The spaceport on Zera Prime was unlike anything Sam had ever seen. Towering structures of polished metal stretched toward the sky, glowing with soft blue energy. Hundreds of different alien species moved through the grand halls, some floating, others gliding, all dressed in flowing garments or armor that shimmered under the artificial lights. As the only human in sight, Sam felt small, but he had long learned that appearances didn't matter. Actions did. He walked toward the diplomatic sector, gripping the small metallic case that contained Earth's latest trade proposal. It wasn't much, just a few agreements on resource sharing. But it was important. Humans were still new to the galactic stage, and every small deal brought them a step closer to being recognized as equals. As he reached the entrance to the council chambers, a voice echoed behind him. "Help me, human." Sam turned sharply. A cloaked figure stood in the shadows between two towering statues. The voice was soft, urgent, and unmistakably afraid. He hesitated. He had been warned not to interfere in alien matters, especially in a place like Zera Prime. The Zyre Dominion was one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy, and humans were still outsiders. If he got involved in something political, he could ruin Earth's chances of securing an alliance. But then he saw them, the enforcers. 4 armored soldiers pushed through the crowd, their glowing visors scanning every face. They moved with the confidence of authority, their long weapons humming with latent energy. The cloaked figure took a step back, pressing against the wall. Something in Sam's gut twisted. He wasn't a hero. He wasn't a fighter. But he had seen this kind of fear before, back on Earth, in the desperate eyes of those who had no one to stand up for them. Sam made a decision. He took a step forward and whispered, "Follow me." The cloaked figure hesitated, then rushed to his side. Sam turned smoothly, guiding them toward a side exit as if they were just 2 diplomats on a casual walk. His heart pounded as the enforcers drew closer, their visors scanning the area. "Stay calm. Stay natural." They passed a checkpoint. A guard glanced at him, but barely gave him a second look. Humans were still seen as harmless, weak, an image Sam never thought he'd be grateful for. Once they were safely inside a private corridor, Sam turned to the figure. "All right, who are you? And why are you running?" The hood lowered, revealing a young woman with deep violet skin and silver eyes. Her features were sharp, regal, almost too perfect. Sam's breath caught. He had seen that face before. Princess Feyara, the heir to the Zyre Dominion, the most protected individual in the Empire. And now, a fugitive. Before he could speak, alarms blared through the station. The deep, authoritative voice echoed through the halls. "Attention, all personnel. The traitor has been located within the diplomatic sector. Apprehend immediately." Sam stared at her. "You're joking, right?" Feyara's expression was grim. "I need your help, human. If they catch me, I will not live to see another day." Sam exhaled sharply. This wasn't just a diplomatic mess. This was a political disaster. And now he was in the middle of it. Sam's heart pounded as the alarm continued to blare through the spaceport corridors. He wasn't supposed to be in this situation. He was just a small-time diplomat from Earth, here to negotiate trade deals, not to get involved in a high-level conspiracy. Yet here he was, standing next to Princess Feyara, the heir to the powerful Zyre Dominion, who was now being hunted by her own people. She looked at him, her silver eyes filled with urgency. "We have to move. Now." Sam swallowed hard. He had already made his choice when he helped her escape the enforcers, but now the situation was worse. If they were caught together, he wouldn't just be thrown out of the diplomatic program. He could be imprisoned, or worse. Still, something about her desperation told him she wasn't lying. Someone wanted her gone, and that meant she needed help. Taking a deep breath, he grabbed her wrist and started moving. "Follow me. Stay close." The escape. Sam led her through a maze of corridors, avoiding the main hallways where armored enforcers patrolled. His mind raced, trying to figure out a plan. He didn't have much, just a small diplomatic transport and a limited security clearance. That wouldn't be enough to smuggle the most wanted person in the Empire off-world. But first, they had to get out of the spaceport. He tapped into his communicator, bringing up a map of the facility. There was a maintenance passage near the lower levels that connected to the external docking base. If they could reach it, they might have a chance to escape without setting off more alarms. They turned a corner and nearly ran into a patrol. Vayara tensed, ready to fight, but Sam acted first. He grabbed her, spun her around, and pressed her against the wall. "Kiss me." "What?" she whispered harshly. "Just do it." She barely had a second to react before the enforcers passed by. Sam pretended to be just another traveler caught up in a romantic moment. The guards glanced at them, but kept moving, uninterested. As soon as they were gone, Vayara pulled away, her expression unreadable. "Clever," she admitted. Sam exhaled. "I try." Hunted. They continued moving through the dimly lit maintenance tunnels. The deeper they went, the fewer security systems there were. It seemed like they were in the clear, until Sam's communicator beeped with a new transmission. "Attention all sectors. The fugitive is suspected to be traveling with an unidentified human. All human personnel must report to security immediately for questioning." Sam froze. Now they were looking for him too. Vayara turned to him. "I'm sorry. You don't have to do this. You can leave now." Sam let out a small, bitter laugh. "If I leave now, they'll arrest me anyway. Besides, I don't like watching people get hunted down for no reason." For a moment, she stared at him, as if trying to understand why a human, someone from a species still considered weak, would risk everything for her. Then she nodded. "Then let's keep moving." The truth. As they neared the exit, Sam finally asked the question that had been bothering him from the start. "Why are they after you? What did you do?" Vayara hesitated, then spoke quietly. "I discovered something. Something my father's council didn't want me to know." Sam frowned. "What kind of something?" She glanced around, making sure they were alone. Then she leaned in, whispering, "The Dominion is planning something dangerous. Something that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. I confronted them, and they turned against me." Sam's stomach twisted. He had expected a political dispute, maybe a power struggle between nobles. But this was bigger. If what she was saying was true, it meant there were secrets hidden beneath the surface of the powerful Zyre Dominion. Secrets worth killing for. Before he could ask more, the corridor suddenly filled with the sound of footsteps. More enforcers. Vayara grabbed his arm. "We have to run." And just like that, their escape turned into a race against time. Sam barely had time to react before Vayara pulled him forward, and they ran. The sound of heavy boots echoed through the corridors behind them. The enforcers were closing in fast. Sam's mind raced. Think. Running blindly wouldn't help. They needed a real escape plan. "How far is your ship?" Vayara asked between hurried breaths. "Not far. Docking Bay 12, Sam replied. "But we need to get there without being seen." She nodded and scanned the dimly lit corridor ahead. "There's a maintenance shaft up ahead. It connects to the lower docking levels. We can use it." Sam didn't question her. He trusted her knowledge of the station more than his own. They reached a small metal panel on the wall, and Vayara quickly tapped on the access pad. The door hissed open, revealing a tight, narrow tunnel filled with pipes and cables. "After you," Sam said, stepping aside. Vayara climbed in first, and Sam followed, pulling the panel shut behind them. The moment it sealed, they heard the enforcers storm past outside, their voices barking orders. Sam exhaled. Too close. Through the shadows, the tunnel was dark and cramped. Sam could barely see Vayara ahead of him. The air was thick with the scent of metal and engine grease. "How did you know about this passage?" he asked. "I've lived here my whole life," she replied. "I've explored places most Zyre nobles don't even know exist." Sam was starting to realize she wasn't just a sheltered royal. She was smart, resourceful, and determined. They crawled through the narrow space until they reached a service hatch. Vayara peered through it, then turned to Sam. "We're near the cargo loading zone. From here, we can blend in with the workers." Sam nodded. "All right. Just act natural." They stepped out into the open. The docking area was busy, filled with towering cargo containers and alien workers loading supplies onto freighters. The loud hum of machinery covered their movements as they slipped into the crowd. A deadly obstacle. For a moment, Sam thought they were safe. Then, just as they neared the passage to Docking Bay 12, he spotted them, enforcers blocking the way. Vayara cursed under her breath. They're guarding all exits now. Sam's mind raced. They needed a distraction. Fast. He scanned the area, then spotted something useful, a fuel container marked highly volatile. "Perfect. Stay low and get ready to move," he whispered. Sam grabbed a nearby metal rod and hurled it at the fuel container. The impact sent sparks flying, triggering the station's automated safety alarms. Loud sirens blared as security drones rushed in to contain the hazard. The enforcers turned their attention away, just for a second. That was enough. Sam and Vayara sprinted past them, ducking behind cargo crates until they reached the entrance to Docking Bay 12. A desperate takeoff. Sam's ship, a small but fast diplomatic shuttle, stood ready on the launch pad. But before they could board, another alarm sounded. Intruders detected in Docking Bay 12. Lockdown initiated. The hangar doors began to seal shut. "Run," Sam shouted. They dashed toward the ramp just as the enforcers burst into the bay, weapons raised. Blaster fire streaked past them, hitting the metal walls in bright flashes of energy. Sam reached the controls first and slammed the emergency launch button. The shuttle's engines roared to life. The landing ramp started to rise. Vayara leaped onto the platform just as it sealed shut. "Strap in," Sam shouted, throwing himself into the pilot's seat. The enforcers outside fired at the ship, but the reinforced hull held. With a sharp pull on the controls, Sam sent the shuttle soaring through the docking bay doors, just before they slammed shut behind them. Nowhere left to hide. For a brief moment, they were free. The vastness of space stretched before them, stars twinkling in the distance. Then, the ship's warning system blared. "Warning! Zyre warships in pursuit, preparing to engage tractor beams." Sam's stomach twisted. They weren't safe yet. Vayara turned to him. "Can you outrun them?" Sam tightened his grip on the controls. "I guess we're about to find out." Sam's hands tightened around the ship's controls as red warning lights flashed across the dashboard. The Zyre warships were in pursuit, their massive dark hulls gliding through space with terrifying speed. "They're locking onto us," Vayara warned, her silver eyes scanning the control panel. "They'll use a tractor beam any second." Sam cursed under his breath. A direct confrontation was suicide. His shuttle was fast, but it wasn't built for combat. They had only one advantage: humans were unpredictable. "Hold on," he shouted. With a sharp twist of the controls, he veered the ship downward, skimming dangerously close to the rings of a nearby planet. The dense asteroid debris was a death trap for most pilots, but Sam was counting on that. The Zyre warships hesitated, recalculating their course. That hesitation was all Sam needed. He weaved between floating rocks, dodging chunks of ice and metal, pushing the shuttle to its limits. Vayara clutched the seat, her voice tight. "Are all humans this crazy?" "Only the ones who survive." Sam shot back. The warship struggled to follow through the dangerous terrain. Sam spotted a small gravitational anomaly ahead. A slingshot opportunity. Time to disappear. He fired the thrusters at full power, using the planet's gravity to propel them forward. The sudden acceleration launched them out of the asteroid field at impossible speed. Behind them, the Zyre warships lost their lock. The warning alarms stopped. For now, They were safe. A risky decision. Vayara let out a shaky breath. That was reckless. Sam smirked. Yeah, but it worked, didn't it? She couldn't argue with that. But their problems weren't over. Where do we go now? Sam asked. Vayara hesitated. There's only one place where they can't touch me. The High Galactic Court. Sam's eyes widened. You want to put yourself on trial. I have no choice, she said. If I keep running, I'll always be seen as a fugitive. But if I stand before the court, the king himself can't intervene. Sam frowned. He didn't trust politics. He had seen too many corrupt officials back on Earth. But Vayara had a point. If she proved her innocence before the galaxy's highest authority, the Dominion couldn't cover it up. Still, it was a dangerous gamble. All right, he said. But if we do this, we do it my way. Vayara raised an eyebrow. And what is your way? Sam grinned. We make a scene they can't ignore. The arrival. The High Galactic Court was a floating station in deep space, a massive structure made of gold and silver alloys, surrounded by glowing energy fields. It was the place where rulers, diplomats, and leaders from every major species gathered to settle disputes. As Sam's shuttle approached, security ships scanned them. A robotic voice echoed through the speakers. Unidentified vessel, state your purpose. Vayara leaned forward. This is Princess Vayara of the Zyre Dominion. I request an immediate audience with the High Galactic Council. There was a long silence. Then, the voice returned. You are under arrest by order of the Zyre Dominion. Sam smirked. Yeah, I figured they'd say that. Without waiting, he transmitted a live broadcast signal directly to the Council's public channel. Across the station, in front of millions of viewers, his message played. This is Sam, a human diplomat. The Zyre Dominion is trying to silence their own princess. If you believe in justice, let her speak. It was a bold move. If the Council refused, they would look corrupt. If they accepted, the Dominion would be forced to follow the law. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the docking clearance light turned green. Sam grinned. Showtime. The courtroom showdown. The courtroom was massive, a circular chamber filled with towering figures from every corner of the galaxy. The air was thick with tension as Vayara stepped forward, flanked by armed guards. At the center, seated on a throne-like chair, was the chief arbiter, a towering, four-armed being with glowing eyes. Princess Vayara, the arbiter spoke, you stand accused of treason. Do you deny these charges? Vayara lifted her chin. I do. I have been framed by members of my father's own council. Murmurs spread through the room. The Zyre representatives glared at her, but they could not stop her from speaking now. The arbiter turned to Sam. And you, human, why have you interfered in the affairs of the Dominion? Sam smiled. Because humans don't like watching the powerful crush the innocent. The room fell silent. For the first time in history, a human had brought a case before the most powerful court in the galaxy, and not even the king of the Dominion could stop what came next. The courtroom remained silent after Sam's words. Representatives from different worlds watched with curiosity, some with suspicion. The Zyre Dominion's delegates looked tense, their expressions unreadable. The chief arbiter leaned forward, his glowing eyes fixed on Sam. Human, you claim to act in the name of justice. But why should this court listen to you? What proof do you have? Sam had expected this question. He wasn't a politician, but he knew one thing. Truth alone wasn't enough. You had to make them care. He turned to Vayara. Tell them what you told me. Vayara took a deep breath and stepped forward. The Zyre Dominion is planning something dangerous. My father's council has been keeping it hidden from the galaxy. When I discovered it, they tried to silence me. A representative from the Dominion stood. Lies. The princess is confused. She has been manipulated by this human. Vayara's eyes flashed with anger. If I am lying, then let the Dominion prove me wrong. Allow an investigation. The room murmured again. The Dominion's council had power, but even they could not openly refuse an investigation without suspicion. The arbiter raised a hand, silencing the debate. Princess Vayara, what exactly did you discover? Vayara hesitated for a moment, then spoke clearly. The Dominion is developing the secret fleet, one unlike anything seen before. Ships with cloaking technology beyond what any race possesses. They intend to use it to shift the balance of power in the galaxy. The word sent a shockwave through the chamber. Whispers turned into outright conversation. If this was true, it meant the Dominion was planning for war. The Zyre delegate slammed his fist on the table. This is treason. The princess speaks of things she does not understand. Sam crossed his arms. Then prove her wrong. Show us your fleet records. The Zyre officials stiffened. They couldn't. Silence filled the courtroom again. The absence of denial was more powerful than any admission of guilt. The arbiter's glowing eyes narrowed. If these claims hold weight, the Dominion must answer. I call for an independent investigation. Effective immediately. A holographic screen activated, displaying the votes of the council members. One by one, different species cast their decision. Yes, yes, yes. Sam felt a rush of satisfaction as more and more votes turned in their favor. Then the final result appeared. Investigation approved. The Dominion's next move. The Zyre representatives were furious but could do nothing. The law of the High Galactic Court was absolute. Vayara turned to Sam, a mixture of relief and gratitude in her eyes. You did it. Sam smiled. No, we did it. But he knew this wasn't over. The Dominion wouldn't just accept defeat. They would have a backup plan. And he had a feeling it wouldn't be peaceful. A dangerous warning. As they left the courtroom, a messenger approached them. A cloaked figure from an unknown race. Human, the figure whispered. You have made powerful enemies today. Sam raised an eyebrow. Yeah, I kind of figured. The messenger handed him a small data chip. This is proof of what the princess spoke of. The Dominion's secret fleet. Get this to the investigators before they silence you both. Sam took the chip, his pulse quickening. If this was real, it was the final piece they needed. But before he could ask more, the messenger vanished into the crowd. Vayara looked at him. What is it? Sam held up the chip. The truth. But now they had to survive long enough to share it. Sam tightened his grip on the small data chip. It felt like it weighed 1,000 tons in his palm. This was the proof they needed, the evidence that could bring down the Dominion's secret plan. But he knew one thing for sure. The Dominion wouldn't let them live long enough to use it. Vayara stood beside him, her silver eyes scanning the corridor. The High Galactic Court was supposed to be the safest place in the galaxy, but now it felt like a trap. We need to get this to the investigators before the Dominion acts, she whispered. Sam nodded. And we need to do it fast. The first attack. They moved quickly through the halls, heading for the Council's central archives, where all official evidence was stored and protected. But as they turned a corner, Sam suddenly stopped. Something was wrong. The corridor ahead was completely empty. No guards, no delegates, just silence. It's a setup, Sam muttered. Before Vayara could respond, the lights flickered, and then the first shot was fired. A red energy blast streaked past them, scorching the metal wall. Sam grabbed Vayara's arm and pulled her behind a support beam just as more blaster shots rained down. Dominion assassins. 3 figures in dark cloaks emerged, their weapons glowing. Their movements were precise, professional. They weren't here to capture. They were here to kill. Give us the chip, and we'll make it quick, one of them said. Sam smirked. Yeah, I don't think so. With a quick move, he pulled out a small flash grenade from his belt and tossed it toward them. Boom! A bright white light filled the corridor. The assassins staggered back, momentarily blinded. That was their chance. Run, Sam shouted. The chase. They sprinted through the halls, alarms blaring. The Dominion's agents wouldn't stay down for long. Vayara pressed a button on her wrist device. I'm sending a distress signal to the investigators. If we don't make it, at least they'll know something is wrong. Sam gritted his teeth. They had to make it. They reached the main archive chamber, a massive hall filled with towering data storage units. A few officials were inside, looking confused at the sudden alarm. Sam rushed to the nearest data terminal. We need to upload the chip to the central archive. Once it's there, the whole court will have access to it. Vayara handed him the chip. Hurry. Sam inserted it into the terminal. A loading bar appeared. 25%, 40%, 60%. Then, the doors burst open. The assassins had found them. The final stand. Sam turned to face them. No more running. Vayara grabbed a nearby energy staff from the wall, one of the ceremonial weapons used in court disputes. She spun it expertly, her stance firm. Sam took a deep breath. You take the two on the left. I'll handle the last one. Before the assassins could react, Vayara launched forward. She moved fast, too fast for them to predict. Her staff struck one assassin's weapon, knocking it from his hands. Then she spun and hit the second one across the chest. Sam had no time to be impressed. The last assassin charged at him, blade in hand. Sam barely dodged the first strike, rolling to the side. He grabbed a fallen blaster and fired. The shot hit the assassin's arm, making him drop the blade. Vayara finished off the last attacker with a final strike. Silence. Sam turned back to the terminal. 95%, 100%. Upload complete. The evidence was now locked in the High Galactic Court's central system. The Dominion couldn't erase it now. The turning point. Seconds later, the doors burst open again, but this time, it wasn't assassins. It was the investigators. Armed galactic enforcers stormed in, weapons raised. Behind them, high-ranking officials from different worlds followed, their faces serious. The lead investigator, a tall reptilian being with piercing yellow eyes, stepped forward. He looked at the fallen assassins, then at Sam and Vayara. Then he checked the uploaded evidence. A long silence followed. Then he spoke. The princess was telling the truth. The consequences. The next few hours passed in a blur. The evidence was reviewed, analyzed, and confirmed. The High Galactic Court made its ruling immediately. The Zyre Dominion was ordered to stand down. The secret fleet was to be dismantled under strict supervision, and those responsible for framing Vayara were to be arrested. As the official decision was announced, Vayara turned to Sam. We did it. Sam exhaled, feeling the weight of everything finally lift. Yeah, we did. But he knew this was just the beginning. The Dominion wouldn't forget this defeat, and neither would he. The High Galactic Court was in an uproar. The evidence against the Zyre Dominion had spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every major news network was broadcasting it. The Dominion's secret plan had been exposed. Sam and Vayara stood in the middle of the massive chamber, surrounded by representatives from different worlds. The decision had been made. The Dominion's hidden fleet would be dismantled, and those responsible would face justice. The chief arbiter's glowing eyes surveyed the room. The Zyre Dominion has broken the laws of peace. Their leaders must answer for their actions. There was silence as the Dominion's ambassador stepped forward, his expression unreadable. We accept the court's ruling, he said, though his voice was cold. But do not think the Dominion will forget this. Sam smirked. I'm counting on that. The aftermath. As the hearing ended, Vayara turned to Sam. It's over. Sam shook his head. Not yet. The Dominion won't stop just because they lost in court. She frowned. What do you mean? Sam sighed. They'll play by the rules for now, but they'll find another way to regain power. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but they'll be back. Vayara looked away. Then what do we do? Sam crossed his arms. We stay ready. A final encounter. As they left the courtroom, a familiar voice called out. Human. Sam turned. It was the Zyre King's personal advisor, an older Zyre with deep purple eyes and a long flowing robe. Sam tensed. This wasn't just any diplomat. This was one of the most powerful figures in the Dominion. The advisor stepped closer, his voice low. "You have humiliated the Dominion today. Do not think there won't be consequences." Sam smirked. "You should be thanking me. If your leaders had gone through with their plan, the whole galaxy would have turned against you. I just saved your people from a war they couldn't win." The advisor's expression remained unreadable. "Perhaps. But know this, humans have now made an enemy of the Dominion." Sam's smile didn't fade. "That's funny. I thought we'd just made history." The advisor studied him for a moment, then turned and disappeared into the crowd. Vayara exhaled. That was a warning. Sam nodded. "Yeah. And a promise. A new beginning." Later, as they boarded their ship, Vayara looked at Sam. "What now?" she asked. Sam leaned against the control panel, thinking. "The galaxy's changing. We proved that even the most powerful can't hide from the truth. But there are other secrets out there, other people who need help." Vayara smiled. "So we find them." Sam grinned. "Yeah, we find them." The engines roared to life as the ship lifted off, disappearing into the stars. The battle was won, but the adventure was just beginning.